Welcome in, Wolfgers. What the hell is going on? Skull. Go Wolves. Welcome in, guys. This is weird. Not expected. Live reaction Wolves podcast. Schedule release. 17-0. Let's talk all that and more. We got Pat. We got Tom. Myself. Kevin. I mean, not a whole lot to say, right? We don't have to super dissect what happened, but Wolves back. Again.
Wolves back, baby. Let's
Wolves
go.
back.
It's always been Wolves in 7, by the way. Like, they're putting us on this roller coaster
Never a doubt.
ride. It's always been Wolves in 7. We're riding until we can't ride anymore. And tonight was certainly a right path for us to kind of take into Game 7 in Denver here. So, let's go.
Who's the best team in this series?
TBD.
Yes.
I have no clue. None of these game one was close, but really none
weird.
of these games have been close. And just
The
whoever you either get blown out or you blow somebody out.
It
Exactly.
makes no sense. And apparently home court advantage maybe matters, maybe doesn't matter, because we've seen it go both ways for both teams this series. It is just
Right.
one of the weirdest playoff series I think I've ever seen.
But hey, if Mike Conley's healthy, I mean, whatever we did tonight, I don't care. Do whatever it takes to replicate that in any sort of fashion. I don't care what it takes. Go out to Denver and do what you did at the best level you possibly can, because, one, they weren't making their shots, which I'll give you that. In a lot of other games where those shots were going down, it's a lot closer game for Denver. They shot 19% from three. So you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that Denver team. But that defense, it's back. It was back to that game 2, game 1 mentality. Closeouts on every possession. Turnovers, turn into offense. Just suffocation on the guards. Double teams. You know what I mean? It felt like it was back to where we belong. Back to what we wanted the last 2 games at home. And we didn't get that, and then we go to Denver, and it's much of the same. It's a lot of, well, last game was a lot of, I would say more so of Joker being Joker, which we didn't see a lot of tonight, and last game was a lot of just wide open threes being bricked off the back of the iron. So it was a complete opposite tonight, and that's why we end up victorious. What do you guys think?
Yeah, kind of the things that got us through the first 2 games are our bench played well, defense played well, and then we were moving the ball around. And then all of a sudden, games 3, 4, and 5, that just all stopped. And tonight seemed like all of that came right back. The defense was flying around. It seemed like the ball movement was better. Ant was figuring out how to deal with that double team that Denver had implicated in game 5.
And triple team.
It worked so well.
I'll say
triple
this:
teams, yeah.
the biggest difference in my mind that I can pinpoint was Jaden McDaniels.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
21
He
points.
finally got his shot. His shot
Finally got a
finally
shot.
falling
Only 3
tonight.
made threes, but he was doing more than just hitting his corner 3 that he's getting. He was playing his lockdown defense. He was only 1 personal foul in that whole game, given that he didn't have to play the whole game. It wasn't as stressful as the last 3 have been. But that's what we've been looking for from the guy. It's like somebody else that can step up opposite of Ant and Cat. Somebody who has the opportunity because they're getting the double teams. He's 1 pass away from that on the wing. He's either going to get that open 3 or he can pump fake and take it to the rim, which his athleticism has allowed him to do that this whole series. He just hasn't been able to convert on those, and you finally see that in this series with this last game. 8 for 10 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, got to the line once. He's doing all the right things. That's the kind of Jaden that we signed to an extension. That's the kind of guy we need in Game 7 for sure. And if that happens, I like our chances because, like we talked about earlier in the past podcast, all we need is something to help out Ant. Ant can't be superhero every game. We've gotten to this point with Ant plus Towns plus Gobert plus McDaniels plus Conley, Nas Reed, Kyle Anderson, as much as we hate him, apparently he still helps us as bad as it looks. So I love every second of it.
I totally agree. I mean, and defensively, and we said this about game 1 and 2, but he had Jamal Murray in hell. Like the entire game, he was on him, and even in the instances where Jamal Murray would get past him, because Jamal Murray's a guard, right? He's quicker than Jaden, but Jaden just has this tenacious ability to follow defenders, and I think he had 2 block shots where he just came from directly behind and caught up with the play and utilized his length to get himself back in position and to make a play. But I agree, he was the X factor in this game. We've seen too many times Anthony Edwards be the only offensive option, and when things are not going right for him, the offense completely stalls out, and we need to see more growth from Jaden on the offensive end, and tonight was a really great showing of what he can do. And one of the things, and I don't remember who said it, but I saw on Twitter someone had mentioned that instead of having him kind of planted in the corner for most of the game like they usually do, they had him setting more screens and just running around a little bit more, which got him in different positions, which I think is helpful again, because Denver couldn't plan for that, because that's not something that he's consistently done all year. And I thought that helped him get easier looks than he's seen all season, which is great to get his confidence going, because he's so important to this team.
Yeah, putting him in different positions to score is really what he needed when you're struggling with that corner three. He just hadn't been falling. So once he got a couple big dunks and a couple mid-range shots, it felt like his confidence kind of came back. And so when he did have those opportunities to take those corner threes, it wasn't just, we're kind of hoping it hits the rim even. But he was taking those shots with confidence because he had made a couple of shots early on. So that got him going a little bit.
Yeah, so just to don't want to super dive deep into their stat sheet, but we talked about it is last game, the difference was the bench, right? The bench shooting, feeding off of Jokic, not only Jokic. Last 2 games, Jokic dominated last game at the point of attack and was still able to find the open man when he wasn't able to score himself. But you look at that this game, I mean, it was laughable. Like every single time they would get, whether or not it was an open look or not, it was not even close to hidden. You look at their bench scoring, I think at one point, I don't know how long we were into the game, but they said that was the first bench points of the night for third quarter.
It was in the third quarter. It was
it was like at the end.
I think it was the Christian Brown dunk that was the first.
Christian Brown.
The first 2 points of the game, and I thought it was hilarious because he came down and it was a very impressive dunk. Don't get me wrong, but they were down 30 some at that point, and he did a little stare down. And Ant hit him. It wasn't
hilarious.
Yeah, it wasn't him, but Ant hit a 3 directly the possession.
Okay, so I got up the box score right now. Anybody who is in their normal rotation, Justin Holiday, Reggie Jackson, and Christian Brown, I believe they go 8 deep. Nobody hit a shot except for that dunk from Christian Brown. So that was the first and only bench point from the Nuggets of real minutes. That's insane.
Yeah, and then games 3, 4, and 5, Denver shot, 58, 60% from the field. I mean, that's not sustainable. And so it was nice to see the pendulum swing back the other direction where they just couldn't hit anything. Because in game 5, I mean, we played actually pretty good defense. I mean, we had a lot of contested shots. They were just making everything. So finally, things kind of went the Wolves' way, which it hasn't in the last 3
15
games.
threes, 15 of 40, 37% from 3. A lot better than we saw the last few games. And then we made our free throws. Only 4 missed free throws there, 83% from the free throw strike. So just obviously not all those stats are inclusive of how the game actually played out because our starters got taken out with, 8 minutes left in regulation. But, I mean, complete dominance from start to finish all over the board. And you definitely saw it throughout the stat sheet, but you didn't need the stat sheet to realize how good we were playing this game, and that's what I love about it. Is analytics is great and everything, but if you just turn on the tape and you watch, every single person was contributing. It wasn't the Rudy trying to fight Cat for defensive rebound. Oh, whoa, whoa, same team. There was that same cohesive feeling that got us to this point in the playoffs, and that's what we need to feel like we have a chance to actually do something, not only in this game, but like Game 7 and moving forward. Is like this team's legit when it's on this level. It's not about me, it's not about you, it's about every single person in that building, and it's really cool to see that effort being replicated from Game 1 and Game 2 all the way in Game 6.
And then one with missing all these shots tonight too. The good thing is the Wolves dominated the boards. They let a couple offensive rebounds early on, but after that it really wasn't. Denver didn't get any offensive boards, and so when you're pounding
our
the board,
three big guys all had
62 rebounds,
double digits. Gobert 14, Cat 13, and Nas 11. So all over the boards
and
from
it's nice to see
the early.
Cat too. He kind of struggled with his shot, and he stayed in there. He played tough defense, and he, like you said, he had 13 rebounds or whatever, 13, 14 rebounds. He played good defense, and he rebounded the ball, and so he helped the team win.
He did. I think this only was 10 points, but we can do that.
I think this was low-key one of his best games of this playoffs. And again, it's just when we're talking about Carl, it's when he's not trying to do too much or feels the burden to carry the load to some extent. And again, just defensively making little plays. He was tough down low early on. He was getting buckets, and we didn't see some of the out of control mannerisms that we tend to see sometimes when things get a little bit hairy out there. So I was just, again, incredibly impressed with Carl, and I know Game 5 was his worst game of the playoffs for sure. So it's really good to see him get back on track, and again, I think from a mental standpoint, that is so important going into Game 7, is having him confident and feeling, even if he didn't make an impact on the, like Johnny K said, stat stuffer, he didn't make those box score impacts, but he really did impact the game in a positive way.
Well, he got back to defending Joker, and that's what I wanted the last 2 games. I don't know how we got away from that, if that was a coaching or strategic thing. I get he was in foul trouble the last game, and he probably wouldn't be the best bet to guard the current MVP when he's in the paint and you're on foul trouble, and you can only do so much down there. So I get that part. But you see what kind of an impact he's had. We talked about that in the past with his historic stats when we are sharing the load defensively against Joker, whether that's Kyle Anderson, Nas, Gobert, and Cat's been really good against him for whatever reason. He just kind of bothers him in a certain way that other guys don't. And this post-game interview just half an hour ago, Ant was talking about, again, he goes, I cuss him out every chance I get. Stop fucking fouling. Cat played great tonight on both sides of the ball. So he said that with a laugh after praising Cat's defense on Joker, not just this series, but all season against him. So, I mean, that's the kind of leader that Ant is, and he's in Cat's ear. It's surprising it took this long to get to him. We saw that fall back to old Cat, and we're not going to win anything given we need him to contribute offensively, right? We've talked about that. We need that complementary piece. But in a game like this, if you're able to play defense against Joker like that, with our surrounding pieces on the wings, with with Jaden, Conley's back healthy. He played really good defense tonight. We might not need that support offensively that we've talked about the last couple of games because, if you play like that, it's game over. So it just shows how much our defense can be an issue for any team, not just the Nuggets. And I'm just hoping that we get the chance to show that to the rest of the NBA the rest of the year. Obviously, we have to go at Denver. It's going to be a big game, but anything can happen, right? That's what we talked about. Just get to Game 7, right? And if
you guys
talk
even
about
feel any pressure
momentum
about Game 7? I felt more pressure tonight. I was more nervous about tonight, and now that I think about Game 7, I'm just like, obviously I want them to win, but I'm not going to be absolutely devastated if they lose. I think that they showed such mental toughness to come out tonight and absolutely hand it to Denver.
Yeah.
I think that it shows that they've got the right leadership in there, like we've kind of talked about for the last couple weeks now. I think that spoke a lot, that even if they don't pull it off in Denver, this was a successful season, and
When they
we
do,
really should be enjoying it.
none of that. None of that. None of that.
Oh, really, Mr. Down and Depressed last episode?
When they do, and when we do, we're expecting a hell of a series.
Didn't you just tell us that the series was over like 2 days ago?
What series? Oh, the Yankees Twins? Yeah. Twins don't got it anymore. They had the hot streak, and Aaron Judge came to town. He said, "No, thank you."
And Tom, going back to your question, it's a 1-game series now. Like this is for everything. It's a 1-game series. Getting this one is such a load off of their shoulders, and they know they can beat this team. They know that they can handily beat this team. They know they can beat them in Denver. So I'm kind of with you. Again, I think I'm on the record saying that I won't see that. Well, I'll see this season as a success. However, I want this team to make the Western Conference Finals to feel really good about where they're going. And I still see that today. And I think a couple episodes we said, hey, this team can win it all. And again, they came back and showed us why they can win it all. So we just need to see this play. And again, we're not going to beat the defending champs by 45, but we need to see this level of tenacity on defense. And I think the for what it's worth, I think the reffing has an impact on that too. Because when the Wolves are allowed to play physical, they are a completely different team. And
How many
did
whistles
not see
did
that.
you guys hear in that? What was it, 27-2 run? I don't think I heard one whistle that whole first quarter during that run, and it speaks volumes.
The only whistles I heard were from Michael Malone calling a couple timeouts. I think really.
Yeah. So when we're allowed to play, and we've talked about this in the past, it's like it does depend a lot on the reffing. And sure, if the reffing was a little different, this game would be totally different. But we still dominated it physically and statistically on the glass, defensively, all of that. It looks a lot different. It's a lot closer. It's a different mental game with the foul. They didn't let us get in foul. Look at how our team plays so much freer and different and more on the ball when we're not worrying about getting our third, fourth foul in the first half with some of our big guys. Last game, the game before that, we're all worried about Towns and McDaniels, and they're all stressing about, I can't guard him. I got to sit back. I just got to go straight up on this. I got to let Joker just go right around me because I can't really play the defense that I'm used to playing. So it definitely is a factor.
They're going to have to. They're gonna have to overcome it. Hopefully Mark Davis is the ref in Game 7 because that will be to our advantage, but it might not be. I don't really I don't know how they do the refereeing schedules and things like that, but we might get Scott Foster again. And so they're going to have to figure out a way to play tough defense and play aggressive without fouling. And so, yeah, again, like we've talked about, we'll need Cat to kind of figure it out a little bit. But that goes for McDaniels, and that goes for Alexander Walker as well, too, our perimeter guys. So it was nice tonight that we did get that confidence back, and the refs were, letting it play the way we want it to play. But the reality is that it might not happen like that in Game 7, and they're still going to have to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah. And
I love how they're dragging Draymond right now. We talked about Draymond dogging the Wolves the last game after it goes off. And, yeah, Twitter's fun right now. I'll tell you that much. They said teams holding Joker and the Nuggets to 80 points or fewer in a playoff game. Rudy Gobert teams, 3. Rest of NBA history combined, 0. So, take that for what it is. I mean,
Rudy played pretty good defense on him the other night. So
he did.
At the time I thought, what is he doing? But then I kind of watched back and I'm like, well, he's got a hand in his face. He's sticking with him on all those moves that he was making, and it wasn't really bad defense.
We were playing bad team defense the other night, so it kind of all relates back to that. But it's like when your rotations are bad.
But if you've still got a hand in their face and you're still contesting shots, there's not a whole lot more they could do.
I totally agree.
Sure.
I looked up a stat today because Rudy was getting a ton of flack, and I think that part of that was people not completely watching the game or watching some of those clips back, because he's the best offensive player in the world. He's the best player in the world. And I know Draymond came out and said that he would guard him better than Rudy is guarding him, which is complete bullshit, by the way. Nobody can guard Jokic. And I just went back and I looked, and I was just thinking from like a guard standpoint. To me, Gary Payton is probably a top 3 guard defender of all time. And I just wanted to see what his statistics, or what Michael Jordan's statistics were against him, just to go back and see, okay, what do these truly great players do against other great defenders? And Jordan averaged over 30 points, like 7 or 8 rebounds, almost 4 assists a game in 16 games against Gary Payton. So it is not on one player. Like, when you are that talented, so you're going to score. Again, I thought that Rudy's positioning was spot on pretty much throughout the game. Joker was having one of the more ridiculous offensive showings that I've ever seen. Like, he was, some of these low post moves and footwork were just remarkable, and there's nothing that you can do in that instance. And when you have a 7'2", 4-time defensive player of the year's hand in your face, and you're still hitting these turnaround jumpers, like, I don't care, Draymond, you are not stopping that. There's no way.
The only thing I'm really frustrated about Rudy is I feel like he was kind of soft or weak with the ball at times, or rebounds just kind of hit his fingers and he can't get them. Yep. And so that was one of the things I thought he was kind of playing a little soft, but his on-ball defense was pretty solid overall, I thought.
The main factor I want to address in tonight's matchup versus Game 5 was not only were we a totally different team out there, but I'm a huge superstition guy. And we talk about the likes of Fred Hoiberg with the tags on, and Andrei Kirilenko with a jersey that I don't know if he's necessarily ever worn before, but very interesting choice nonetheless. How about Al Jefferson and his effort tonight from our guy Just Plain Pat? I mean, the audacity to go to a guy like Al Jefferson in a must-win scenario like tonight was... I mean, all props to Pat, and honestly, I don't know where we would be without it, because if you're just looking at it from an outsider perspective, so many options to go with, right? What do we go with? We need defense, we need rebounding. Big Al's right there. He's right in front of your face. Throw that jersey on. Go Wolves. It's right there for the taking, and I assume we're riding with that into Sunday, Pat?
I think we're going to have to at this point. I tried a few different options, of course, in game 4 and 5 that did not work as well. Fred Hoiberg, that's been retired for the season, so we're not going back to that one. So I think we have to ride with Big Al at this point. And yeah, it was an easy choice. It went in the closet. This is the only this style jersey that I have. So the green trees on the side kind of popped, and it stood out to me immediately. So we said, let's give it a whirl. I tried to reincarnate some low post moves in Big Al. I was hoping to see a little more of that from Rudy, but I didn't think he had a very great offensive game. But that being said, the rebounding numbers were there, and Big Al has to be one of the top rebounders in Timberwolves history, I would imagine, for the time that he was in the Wolves. So easy choice. I think we're going to have to ride with it on Sunday, but I'm almost a little bit nervous too after the luck ran out on the Hoiberg tag jerseys, but we'll see. We'll call it a game time decision, but we're heavily leaning towards this. But speaking of jerseys, the Wolves wore the Old Shep throwbacks for the first time in this series.
First time. Mm-hmm.
Can we retire those striped atrocities? Like,
association?
Why?
Yeah.
They're so bad. They're so bad. And I don't know what the rules are for home away, but if there's any way that we can break out the Old Sheps for Game 7, I really hope they do.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Pat, with your jerseys, though, does the luck restart per series? I mean, you said that you're retiring Hoiberg for the year. But if they advance, I mean,
Yeah.
do you give the mayor a second chance?
Now you're putting a lot of pressure on me. I don't know, because we went 4-0 in the Phoenix series wearing that jersey. We went 2-0 to start the Denver series wearing that jersey. So I was feeling hot. And when we lost Game 3, I have not put it back on since Game 3 of this series. So we'll see. We'll see it.
I mean, that's a pretty "what have you done for me lately" mentality here, and I feel like you kind of did Fred Hoiberg a little dirty. They have one bad game, and then all of a sudden, sorry, those 6 games before, you're done. You're set.
That's very fair, and I would say a 6-1 is a pretty damn solid outcome regardless. So we'll go back. I haven't. My initial plans were to cut the tags off and throw it in the wash immediately. I have not done that. My superstitious self has left that jersey sitting on a shelf currently. Tags still attached, so we'll see. I want to see how Game 7 plays out, and then we'll reevaluate. I don't know if I can go back to it this series, but we'll see.
Okay, so before we analyze Game 7 here from a full-on prediction, I just want to take... I mean, I know this game wasn't played in full with all of our guys getting the normal minutes because we were up so much the whole time. We kept our foot on the gas. That was the biggest difference. And you saw Ant going back to the huddle, being mic'd up in that, and he's like, he's being that leader. You see that growth. And we keep talking about that, but like it can't be emphasized enough. Like he is that guy. Like nobody else is being looked at in that circle of that huddle. Sure, it helps to have Mike Conley back for sure. I think that was a big difference in this game to have him there, not only contributing scoring wise and being able to run the offense, but having that calm presence and that coach on the court. But you look at we shot, what was it? What did I say here? Was 37% from 3, right? You look at our stats, you go down the line. Cat 0 for 4. We got Nas 0 for 4. Okay, Nah hit 3 for 5. That's good. We got Jaden hit 3 for 5. That's good. Conley 3 for 6. But there's a little more room for improvement there, right?
All of those threes came in the second half too.
Yeah.
We were not shooting. I think we only had 5 threes made at halftime. I think we were 5 for 19, like I said earlier, and Denver was 5 for 21. So we were shooting pretty much on par from behind the arc. And then the floodgates started to open a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, you see us getting to the line a little bit helps. There wasn't a super heavy whistle.
We made it tonight too.
Yeah, I mean, all the little things that we talked about, which we really didn't need this game, but we are going to need in a close matchup, and it's good to see that we're doing all of the things we harped on earlier this series. Is like, it's possible. You put this kind of an effort forth and see where it can take you, because if we're playing defense like this, I don't think you don't have to do everything perfect, but man, if you're playing defense and you're getting rebounds like that, leads to so many transition buckets, and you don't really have to worry about the half-court offense as much. With Ant getting doubled, it's so much easier on a team like us with so much youth and athleticism to see how we can actually take what we do on the defensive end and translate it into easy offense rather than making it so much more difficult like we've seen in the past where it's just a struggle to create offense outside of Ant. And I really like what I saw, and I hope we don't do a full 360 back to what we saw in Game 5, but you never know in this series like this with all the momentum swings. But I think this series has kind of been a game of a series of a couple games, you know? So I hope we get the last 2.
Yeah, it's been a kind of an interesting series. Like, Pat and I know we've kind of talked about this, but it's been a blowout every game.
Yep.
It's very weird. It's very weird, that's for sure.
Yeah, and
I don't even know. I'm not even going to be surprised at what the outcome is. If it's a blowout in Game 7, either way, I'm not surprised. It's just the theme of the whole series.
It's so interesting.
It comes down to the reffing, I think, honestly. As sad as it is to think.
I think the reffing is key.
Our most fouls we had was 3. Cat had 3. That was the most we had on our whole team tonight.
Yeah, which is wild.
It's a big
I
difference.
think the other thing too is going to be like, so we've seen just how dominant the Denver offense can be, and we've seen just how dominant the Wolves defense can be. And I think for Game 7, the key is going to be, okay, so if the Wolves defense is dominant and the Denver offense is dominant, who is going to adjust and be just a little bit better on the other side of that? So is Denver's D going to step up kind of how they did in Game 5 where they were throwing triple teams at Ant? Or is Minnesota's offense going to step up like they did tonight and you were getting Jaden McDaniels open look? So really it is a game of chess, and I think I hope it's not a, well, I hope it is a blowout in a Wolves' favor, but it'll be really interesting to see the chess match that comes forward, right? So are we going to see this dominant Wolves defense versus this dominant Denver offense? And then what can Mike Malone do offensively to get Denver above the hump, and what can Mike Inori and Chris Finch do to get Minnesota offensively above that hump too?
Do you guys think that if the Wolves start getting 7 to 10 point lead halfway through the third quarter, do you feel like Denver might start tightening up? It's easy to play loose when you're down 2-0, knowing, you know what, there's 5 more games in the series. But once you get to that last Game 7, the narrative shifts a little bit. And so I don't know that they really thought that the Wolves would be able to go 7 games with them, especially after Games 3 through 5. So, do we think that maybe Denver kind of gets a little tight if it's either closer than they're expecting, or the Wolves have a lead a little later in the game?
I mean, you could tell that this game, obviously, when it was a little bit closer, their shots just weren't going down. They felt a little tighter. Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, even Joker, they're not getting to their exact spots on the court. It kind of felt back to that Game 1, Game 2, where they're throwing up shots that are off balance, more of a heave at the hoop rather than their go-to comfortable shots that they feel at home with. And I think, well, obviously we're going to say that's the key to us winning this series in Game 7. But, yeah, if you can get them to feel like that in Quarter 1 and Quarter 2, it's going to make the world of a difference. And I really believe that. I've said that all series. If you can throw them off their game, if you can make Joker not be Joker, they don't have the surrounding pieces right now to carry that. And it's really good to see what we saw tonight, because I really think that can be our recipe for success moving forward.
I agree. I totally am in agreement. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, this, again, another thing I saw on Twitter, Game 7 is exactly 20 years from the Sacramento 2004 Game 7. Like, exactly 20 years, and it also just happens to be Kevin Garnett's birthday.
Get him to Denver.
It'll be very
Somebody
interesting.
freaking call him the Jet. Please, bro. I get that it would be cool to have him there for the Western Conference Finals, but come on, we need you now. We need you now, KG. Let's get there. Holy crap.
No, bring Gorgie. Gorgie was great tonight. It was nice to see him sitting courtside with whoever. I don't know who it was. But that, you guys want to talk about superstition. I'm not superstitious, but a little stitious, and Gorgie needs to be there in Game 7.
And I think Tom Gugliotta was possibly courtside too.
And Isaiah Ryder.
Yep.
I don't know. I never saw a picture of him, but I saw it on Twitter, so I'm not really sure if it's real or not. There wasn't I didn't see a pic, but
yeah.
But I saw Addison was there with the Boobs guy, and then Hawk and CJ Ham and Josh Oliver were there too. So that was cool.
For sure.
Oh yeah. Everybody's ready. Everybody's ready for another series at Target Center. It's all about us to just lock it in. Got a couple more days of rest here. Hopefully everybody rests up. I know we're rearing to go. We'd probably be ready to play tomorrow, but yeah, I'm ready.
I wish it was tomorrow.
Yeah, same. That'd be sweet. How about the Vikes, man? Let's bring that up real quick. We got the schedule release. I know we don't want to dive too deep into it, but pretty cool to kind of get our wits about us for what's going to happen this fall. I know everybody's just dogging us for our Vegas odds and 6.5 win total. And I mean, I saw that we were projected underdogs in 14 out of 17 games this year. So is that
It's
like
May. Who cares?
is that like a 3 win total, 3.5? So what is it really? Is what I'm asking. But
Vegas
right,
doesn't know who the starting quarterback is. We don't know who the starting quarterback
It
is.
is
Kevin
May.
O'Connell
Yeah.
doesn't know who the starting quarterback is. Like,
Does it
you know,
matter?
Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles in the first quarter of the first game. Like, so much can change between now and August and September. So I wouldn't. I'm not looking too much into the schedule, even though it does look like a tough schedule as of right now. And so I'm not surprised that we're not favored in 14 games. But it's just sad that the Vikings social media is so bad, and the schedule release is pretty boring, pretty lame.
Every other team has put out a better one than the Vikings did this year. I was so disappointed in the Viking schedule release video. There were some really good ones, and there are every single year. So I was hoping
ours was kinda sad.
for a little extra. Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah, I mean the Chargers Pop-Tarts one every year is kind of fun, and I think it was Tennessee's last year,
Yep.
right? Where they asked the people on the streets what
They
logo
did it
is this
again.
or whatever.
They ran
That
it
one
back.
was hysterical.
Yeah, it was great. They did a really
that
good
is
job there.
incredible.
No, this year the Chargers did.
football.
If you guys haven't seen it, it was Sims. It was a replication of the
I saw
Sims
that one.
series, which I grew up playing my whole childhood, and the amount of detail. Like, if you don't understand Sims, I get it. Like, it doesn't really add up a whole lot, but like, I don't think it necessarily has to. If you understand the complexity of all the NFL inside jokes, you get it. At the end of the rolling credits, they had Harrison Butker taking a pizza out of the oven and putting flowers in a vase. He was playing the homemaker after his graduation speech about telling the women that they should be a housewife, essentially. So just all of the little jabs that they took at people was very creative. I loved it.
Whose team was that? I missed that one.
Chargers, wasn't it?
Yeah, Chargers.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, and then Atlanta did a replication of, was it NBA Ballers, Pat?
Oh, I don't think
You
I've seen
haven't
that
seen
one. I have to go back and look.
Oh, NBA Street.
I saw that one. That was cool.
Yeah, it was NBA Street. So they had Kirk, they had Bijan, they had Kyle Pitts, Drake London, all dressed up as
For
characters
NFL
in there.
Street.
Yeah, and they were just kind of bouncing around and just going off. It was fun. It was fun. People were really creative in the schedule releases, but I'm sure we'll break that down more in depth in the future, of course, obviously, with a more serious tone to it. I just saw a post-game quote from Jamal Murray. They asked him about Anthony Edwards on defense on him tonight, and he said, "Who?" So, I mean, why
I
are you
love
doing
that
that,
Ant has
Jamal?
been on Jamal Murray the last 2 games.
Why would
needs
he
to go.
just
I want him on there the whole time.
why would he just fuel our best player? That's so dumb of him.
I mean,
He's
they're the defending champs. They can pretty much say whatever they want.
I love
He's
it.
not too smart in that. That's
Let
for
him
sure.
do it.
Oh, I can't wait for Ant Game 7, dude. It's all we needed was a chance, right? All we needed. Anything can happen.
We got
It's
it.
so
And the
crazy
pressure's
how
not
one-
on us. The pressure is on
One
Denver.
one
They're
game
at
can
home.
change everything. You guys trying to look up flights here? I'm in.
No.
Nope.
I'm in.
Have fun.
Thank you. I will. All right. We'll be back probably after Game 7, after we take care of business on Sunday with another good episode. Hopefully, knock on wood, everyone. But holy crap. I'm just excited that we're sitting here with this kind of an attitude, and it's kind of contagious, as you can see with our team. It's not just one player or 2 players that's feeding off each other. It's literally 1 through 15 down the roster. It's insane. I mean, even the bench guys that were coming in today with it didn't matter what they did, but they're playing well. You know, they're feeding off the energy, and it's cool to see. So, hey, I mean, anything's possible with this team if they put their mind to it, and we're just here for the ride. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys someday soon. Go Wolves.
How?
Go Wolves.
I got him. Never